in the season 1 finale, Helly and Irving got to experience their autist lives, and previously Dylan had a brief encounter outside with Milchik. So how has all of this affected them inside Lumon, and how are they dealing with all of this new information?
I think that's sort of the fun of this season is watching them deal with that, and watching everyone deal with it in their own ways. And for Dylan, at least, it has a major impact on how he sees himself and what he wants from his life.
For Helly/Helena, I think it really becomes a journey of like given family versus chosen family, and grappling with those competing forces.
Yeah, that's well put. Yeah, because sometimes, when we're on the outside, there's still the connection to some of the people on the inside, and that's part of the mystery of the whole thing. So it's interesting, and then we also get to go outside. Our innies get to go outside too.
I think that slash between Helly and Helena and between all of the characters, innies and outies, is really important, because after playing the innies throughout all season 1, now you also play the characters outside in the real world. I mean, everything is real in some way, which is almost like playing 2 different characters. So how is it for you as actors to face a challenge like this?
To me, it's the same character. It's just 2 sides of the record. That's all. It's the same character, but it's one person without all the information and the baggage, and some things bleed in, and then the other person who has all of that.
Yeah, I'm in this moment. I sort of come at it from different angles, but at this moment, I'm thinking about the masks that the outies I think wear differently than the innies, in particular Helly and Helena. Like Helena is in a position within the same company and imprisoned in a very different way than Helly R is, and she's often in an environment where she's being watched, and she has to be very careful with how she behaves. Right. And Helly R is being watched too, but she doesn't so much care.
Right. Everyone is being watched in some ways, right, on the show. So yeah,
true, yeah,
and
but
yeah,
I will hurt more.
Yeah, and watching this. I did sort of always think of it as the innie is a version of the outie who doesn't have all this baggage. But this season, as the innie Dylan starts to learn more about his outside life, we start to see it affect him maybe in the same ways that it has affected his outie, and you sort of start to get to see how that type of information would impact him, which was fun.
Yeah, that's something that I wanted to ask you about, is that once your outies are introduced, suddenly a lot of contradictions may emerge between them, between those sides of the same characters, because they might have opposed interests. Helly's case, I think, is the most notorious one in that sense. So do you think that these 2 versions of your characters might be at the same time heroes and villains?
Trammell and I were talking about this a lot, actually, because it's sort of like Milchik is seen as this quote unquote villain, but as a actor, and same with Helena, but it's our jobs to come to that perspective with as much empathy and humanity as possible. And I guess I just really think about at the end of season 1 meeting James Egan, the father, and how weird that guy is, and what that must be like for Helena to have grown up in an environment where that's her dad. It was informative for me.
Yeah. I don't think anyone sees themselves as a villain, or maybe some people see themselves as heroic, but they're probably narcissistic, and but I don't think you really can play that. I think you have to play the specificities of what Britt is saying, and what makes the person that way, but that's a big trap to fall into if you do that.
Yeah. And about all the mysteries that surround the show, and I think that I've watched 6 episodes of the season 2, there are even more questions that are raised episode after episode. So for you as actors, how hard is it to keep track of what the innie knows but the outie doesn't, and the other way around, and all the intersections between those both sides? I mean, it's complex for you to keep track of all that, because everything impacts on your interpretation of the character, no?
It is tricky, but it is, luckily we're all making it together. So, we'll be talking about that before we shoot every scene. While we're shooting, we'll check in with each other. We have, Dan there, or Ben, or so it's a group effort to kind of keep all that straight, at least for me.
Yeah, even I'm just thinking about the design elements, like the prop department, the hair makeup team, like everyone is working on their corner of the puzzle and reminding each other, coming up with ideas. Like I find it's a really collaborative experience, and like everyone's ideas kind of enter into reminding you of where you are emotionally, which is like our job as actors, is to be the like eyes of the character and the perspective. And then we have this incredible design team that helps like really make it feel immersive while you're in that world. Like it's just, again, like every prop is so specific, every environment is immersive.
I have to say, it's confusing at times. And I've seen the confusion be right on the set between three different people, Dan, Ben, me, and it was like, no one has the right answer to it. So sometimes we have to try it different ways. In the end, they'll make a decision. And then sometimes they'll come back and say, you know what? I don't think the character was so, we wrote it for him to be more aware, then actually he should be less aware. And sometimes we have to tweak that later. Not often, but it's a bit of a dance at certain moments. And you can see everyone's face. It's all the same. Like no one has the exact, so we said, well, let's go for this. And then we'll try a different take. And then sometimes we have to go back and yeah, so that's a good question.
Thank you so much, everyone, and congrats for this season. I can't wait to see the rest of the season. So congrats for your work and have a really nice day.
You too.